to go to this STEM pipeline because you brought up a very interesting point, something that is facts. So I work with a lot of organizations that are trying to either increase their improve their STEM pipeline, trying to get access to diverse talent. And I tell them all the time, like DEI for metrics sakes is just it's terrible. You get people in the door, they don't feel like they belong. You're not doing the right things to get people in the door. And STEM is often perceived as an elitist field. I'm just going to be honest, as a Black girl in STEM, STEM has not always been friendly to me. It's not the most friendliest career to step into as a member of a marginalized class, whether that be a girl in STEM, a woman in STEM, a person of color in STEM, or certain persons of color in STEM. So how do we demystify the profession so people that look like me and other people from marginalized groups want to come into this field?
By doing exactly what you're doing now, telling our story. We've got to tell our story. We've got to make sure that people who look like us are given those opportunities. They are giving opportunities like the pipeline where they can come in and explore, even if they decide this is not for me, I don't want to do this. But guess what? They've been given the opportunity. It doesn't cost them anything except for their time and a little work that they have to do while they're in there. But building these opportunities and engagements and giving them access. See, the problem is, one of the issues I find is that people are not given the access to do this type of work. And so they don't know how. And if you don't know how, you mentioned that earlier, not knowing how, you're just told, go to school, go get a degree. Well, what happens after I get a degree?
Yes.
What am I supposed to do next? How am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do next? My daughter, who's a sophomore in college, one of the things I saw this past,
yeah, a sophomore in college.
I do have a
sophomore. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, that's the sidebar. Sorry.
And one of the things, we were at homecoming this weekend, and one of the things that I heard one of the ladies telling her was that, and something that I tell her all the time, you've got to go and make sure that you have mentorship. Make sure that you have people in your corner. So what does that mean? Especially if, and my daughter is certainly not an introvert, but even for the introverts, that means you've got to push your way into places and ask for information. Hey, I love what you're doing. Can I shadow you for a couple of days? Can I sit with you? Can I be on, let me work the recording. If it's just me pressing record, doing some edits, let me do that so that I can learn. So that we as people who are already in this, we've got to make sure that it's available for students, or we've got to make sure that it's available for people who look like us. That means we've got to tell our stories on LinkedIn, on social media, on any of the social media platforms, wherever we can tell, so that we can encourage people to this marginalized community to engage in the STEM community, so that they're not afraid. Because you're right, even coming to Morehouse School of Medicine, I had never worked in healthcare, and so coming to a place where it was really unfamiliar territory. Now I knew what I could do. I knew my strengths, but at the same time, I was coming into a place where it was going to be a lot of MDs and PhD scientists. How were they going to look at me? So, I mean, of course, at first there were some hesitancies, but being confident and knowing what I knew, I had to build, yes, but I built purposely so that other people would have an opportunity that they otherwise would not have had. And that has been my story for so long. When people said, no, don't do this, you can't do this, I always go back to what I told you early on about the feeling of rejection. And from that point on, my no really became my strength, not me proving, but just so that other people, when they were told no or been told no, they will understand there's another door for me to walk into.
Yeah. How do we open these doors for students that live in rural areas, that live in underserviced, under-resourced areas, services, areas that's been neglected for decades? How do we reach those students and get them access to this pipeline?
So that's a great question. And the president of the United States, there was this whole thing around broadband that was happening, this whole movement that would really, and that would really help those rural communities make sure they had access to things like the internet. Because here's the thing, you really need just access to the internet in order to be a part of any of the programs that we have at Morehouse School of Medicine for the online programs. Because I would say probably 90% of the population in those rural areas would have access to financial aid. So they would get the funding in order to be in attendance, in order to be in attendance. Now, the summer pipeline, it doesn't cost them anything. It's free. In fact, they receive money after it's done. However, back to what I was saying about the president, there was this, billions of dollars that is supposed to be placed into the United States that really focuses on putting broadband access in these communities so that more people will have access. Now, some of this work was done in COVID when a lot of the students had to shift to online. You saw people like Verizon, AT&T, they started doing things of that nature, having routers. Honestly, I don't know what has happened since that point, because people are back in school. I'm not certain how much that work is expanding, but that's such an opportunity. That is such an opportunity for us to make available. And we at Morehouse School of Medicine, because of our mission to serve the underserved, our eyes are laser focused on these underserved populations, on these rural communities. However, still there has to be access. And we know that when we talk about health equity and health disparities, it is directly connected to what we say is social determinants of health. So if I don't have access to telemedicine because I don't have a phone, or I don't have laptop or things that nature, I still, even though telemedicine has helped to increase the access, because if I can't drive, or if if there is a hospital or clinic 30 miles away and I can't get there, at least if I have some telemedicine, then I can certainly get some type of assistance. So I think we're doing better, but I think we need to I think there's a whole lot more that we can do